everybody. This is Darren Redmond again for the first time. Actually, let's be look. This will air for your enjoyment in early 2025, but it is the last of the again for the first time podcast being recorded for 2024, and I could not think of a better guest. And we're going to talk about something kind of weird, but something that we all know. I could not think of a better guest than my older brother, Tom. I do the other podcast. The At this point, it's a live show with my younger brother, and but the fact that I get to do this with my older brother, and this is right in his wheelhouse. We're going to talk about. And by the way, Tom Redmond, you've seen him before on both podcasts. At least heard him before, uh, and I've learned a lot about who I am as an individual from him. My ability to lean into social causes. You heard me talk about that, about the movie last night that I really loved, about Bob Dylan. And Yeah, he's just a great individual. But we're going to talk about something really, really important, and that is luncheonettes and diners, right? Because he used to work at one for quite a long time. He was also an early entrepreneur where you could not sit behind a computer somewhere and just make money that way. The man pushed a hot dog cart. The man sold hot dogs in the street, and they were good, quick. Let's go. And we're going to talk. He didn't even know this yet. Just between us kids, ready? We're going to talk a little bit about what makes a good spread hot dog, what you need to know. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about a lot of other things. Tom Redmond, how are you?
Doing real good. What's going on, big man?
Oh, nothing. Going to go. Goodbye. Good night, everybody. No, I'm kidding. I'm doing well. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by nobody. There's nobody that is sponsoring this episode. So I'm going to plug again for the first time live show podcast. I'm going to plug, the D&D Diner. And by the way, if you want to get some really awesome stuff on eBay, Tom Redmond is your man. So, uh, so Tom, I want to talk a little bit about, we talk almost every day, and I think we have a nice balance of looking back but looking forward at the same time. And it's just kind of recently I'm learning to kind of enjoy the moment. But we talk so much about our time at the Luncheonette. You used to work there. I never did, but I was there a lot. Peel potatoes from time to time. Um, why? Here we are 50, 55 years later sometimes, if you think about it. Well, at least 50 years. Why? Why did it leave such an indelible mark? And what makes a luncheonette slash diner the place that would do such a thing for somebody like yourself?
Well, it wasn't the eggs, that's for sure.
What was wrong with the eggs? The eggs were fine. No, they were fine.
Really, it was the people. Now, back in the day, you went in there. It was you were going to meet everybody, right? You went in there was Murphy, the older guy, did work his whole life, gone to church, putting the papers together. There was Betty that worked there for 25 years. It was Henry, the owner, that was the Holocaust survivor. It was John that owned the business, and then he was looking to retire. There were the cops that came in there, the mob guys that came in there, the sports guys that came in there, and it was the people just getting the paper and looking to get something to eat. And I think everybody was more open to being friendly back then. Everybody talked. You didn't go there just to sit on a stool and not talk to anybody. It was a social event inside that luncheonette, and they cared about you. You had each other's backs. You
I'm going to stop you right there because there's a lot to unpack from the get go, and there's so much to talk about. You mentioned how everybody would talk. You didn't just sit there, but I would challenge, not a challenge as much as say, "Boy, you're spot on about that." But at the same time, intrinsically, you knew when that one person needed some space, right? You don't bust this guy's chops. That's a nice way. I would say something else, right? But you knew like, okay, let this guy sit, decompress, have a cup of coffee first before we talk. How do you learn that?
No, back then it was a flow, right? You had a
Mm.
flow. You went in there, it was a flow. By going into that luncheonette, every day. We were in there, even yourself there, every day.
Sure, sure.
So one of the great things was Henry had owned it when we were hanging out. We were just teenagers. You know, it was we're living in Brooklyn. It's freezing. How do you get to hang out with your friends on corners? You can't. It's 35 degrees. Henry let us go in there. Remember, he let us hang
Hmm.
out in the back. Just take a couple of tables. And it was good. But you just had a feel. It was like walking into your second home there. And they cared about you. We learned a lot from.
And in some ways, it was the first home. Where you lived was your second home.
Oh
You
yeah.
know.
Oh, we spent more time there. You
Yep.
know, it was, look, we would do, you can't find anybody shoveling snow anymore. Back then, snow hit the ground. As soon as it stopped, everybody was out shoveling snow, shoveling porches, making money. But then what did we do? Went right to the luncheonette, go have ourselves a nice breakfast. All
Oh,
and you
two
get
eggs
to see
scrambled,
the most
home
everybody.
fries and toast.
Oh, that was it. You know, and what about with the ball games? Like you
Hmm.
couldn't wait after the game. Tom Seaver pitching, Jerry Grody catching, Thurman Munson.
Hmm.
You went when Thurman Munson passed, when he
Oh, we
died
found out at the Flat K Luncheonette.
at the 4K luncheonette. And then you knew it was only a matter of minutes. Everybody coming into our luncheonette and just
Hmm.
talking and gathering. And that's the way it worked, when I remember back in the day when it really hit me, it was we had an officer from the 6-9. He got Officer Sledge. He was killed
I
in
remember.
yeah in January of 1980. He was shot, dragged, and we were there. We seen the scene.
And people, when my brother says dragged, he was literally attached to the car, and the killer did not give a crap and just dragged him for what, a half mile?
Oh well, yeah, at least a mile. I think it was a 3/4 of a mile. Shot him, everything, and that was some scene to be in. And God rest his soul, and his family left behind. And it was only 8 months later that we lost another person from the neighborhood.
Hmm.
A person that served proudly his country, Harry Ryman, Officer Ryman,
Hmm.
off duty, got killed outside his home trying to stop them from stealing the car.
Yep.
And what it was you went into a luncheonette, you were family. You
Hmm.
you laughed on a Tuesday when something like that happened. You were really there for the community. You're there for each other. It was a part of your heart that was taken because you all understood it. We were middle class, having each other's backs, and it was like an extended family for so many. You know?
I love everything that you're talking about right there. Um,
It's missing today.
yeah, in a lot of places it is, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the places I see little aspects of that, little remnants, these small little places, but there's nothing like that was. Um,
No,
so, so a couple of reasons I don't think you could even do that today. I'll tell you why. One, how many places would tell a bunch of kids that, I mean, leather jackets, the whole thing, hey, stay here where it's safe instead of going out there and getting in knucklehead trouble. Not many, you know who would do that? A Holocaust survivor
yeah.
would do that.
When you think about, because I know that you and we had spoken about this before, we didn't open books. We
Yep.
opened conversations. We
Amen.
learned about the Holocaust through the Holocaust survivor being Henry.
Showing us his
Him and
arm.
his wife, they had the numbers on the arm. You learned about World War II and World War One by the veterans that were there because they would sit and tell you the stories. You learned this. You know,
Hmm.
you just had it was an ability to go there, not only try to see your friends, but you learned. It was a lesson in that luncheonette you were learning by the people that lived it. The Vietnam veterans that went so young.
Hmm.
I remember being, like 10 years old, like, oh my God, look what they went through to serve us. Our own uncle, Mike.
Hmm.
We would Dad would pick him up from Floyd Bennett, and he would come in and share the stories with the people in luncheonette. It was a history lesson in there, and we learned, and they looked out for us. It was
Oh
amazing
yeah.
that you'd be 10 blocks away, like on Avenue getting a haircut, and somebody would go, "Oh, how you doing? Yeah, I'm watching you. Thanks for." Yeah, and you saw, "How you doing, Mister Ripolino?" It was a great time, But we learned. It wasn't just that luncheonette was so much more. I learned more in that luncheonette, I can tell you, than I learned in high school going to Samuel J. Tilden, hands down.
I got to tell
Learned
you something.
loyalty,
Yep.
learned it all, and history. I didn't have to read that book. I heard about it. I learned, the Irish immigrants and the
Hmm.
Italians. We learned it
Hmm.
was a melting pot in there.
Yep. I would please don't even get me started. I mean, I think you resonate with me so much when you mention how much we've learned. And I say this with no hubris. I got a master's degree in education, graduated cum laude with that. And I learned more in that luncheonette than I ever learned in college. I learned more about organic diversity.
Yeah.
That and
I-
that you know who's in that? You know who's in that luncheonette? The Irish, the Italian, Jewish, Asian, Black, Latino. Everybody was in there.
I-
Survivors from the earthquake that was in the former Soviet Union. Um, just everybody was in there every day. And you know what? And you better wear your cup. You know what I mean by that. Chirping's gonna happen, and
oh,
and everybody's gonna work hard. Everybody's. But you know what? The end of the day, Kenny's coming in. He's gonna take Betty home. Murphy's coming in the morning. He's gonna do the papers. And let me tell you something. Anytime I feel lazy, I think of Murphy with those papers every morning. Older guy, size of a jockey, but
yeah, he
but
was
he
nice of a jockey.
middle winter still wearing just a windbreaker. Just I got to do the papers and get the papers all ready for the day.
And they took such pride in it.
Yep.
And we were honored just to be with them. I have. What about you sharing the story? Because it's one you brought up. Talk about Russian when the United States beat Russia with
Hmm.
Felix.
Yep.
What happened that day?
So Henry ended up selling the luncheonette and moving to another luncheonette in Manhattan, I believe. That's a story for another time. And who'd he sell to? But an immigrant from Russia and the former Soviet Union. And he did not leave by choice. And USA is playing USSR in hockey, and we all know about the Miracle on Ice. And we all know that that was not the final game. That was the game to get to the finals. But I remember calling Sports Phone. We were all hanging out there, drinking, I don't know, maybe a milkshake or two, French fries. And anyway, and Felix here, he may or may not have bet on the game. Nobody knows. Uh, but the pride, he wanted Russia to lose so bad. And I get chills now, just up goosebumps up and down my arms. And we were there watching a man who probably went through garbage. And I want to curse so badly right now, and I'm trying not to. And but he was there, and um, boy, with you guys, you and Anthony and Marco and everybody else who was there, and I'm calling, sports phone 976-1313 every, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then when it said it's over. And then right as it said that, we had WCBS radio on, remember? Where the
Yeah.
radio was behind the counter. And it said, it's all over. USA wins 4-3. And he jumped up so high. Now, take it from there, man. What was your impression of that? That was amazing.
Oh yeah, because he wasn't a guy that showed his emotions too much.
Nope, he was a Russian. And I mean that in the most endearing way.
Yeah, no, and he was so proud. But that moment that you got to see him is something that you talked about since that time,
Yep.
because you got to see. You didn't have to read it in a paper or hear it on. You got to see what it meant. We all did,
Mhm.
and that kind of it's stuff like that that I remember the most. You couldn't see it. I didn't need to turn on the TV and get interviewed with this owner. I was watching it. We watched this stuff go down, them help each other. The electric went out in '77. They
Yep.
all banded together to help each other out. If someone was laid off, and a group of the people in the luncheonette, they would take up a collection. That's the way it was. There was a heart in there, and you learned everything from history to sports. You hanging out next to a guy, you're getting along great with him until he finds out you may be a Giant fan, and he's a Jet fan, and all of a sudden, the chirping, like you said, it's on.
Yep.
It's on.
It's on.
And,
It's on.
and
Get yourself another cup of coffee. We're going to chirp a while.
now I'll tell you something else. No, yeah, but I'll tell you because I know you're gonna laugh. I was just talking to you. Thought you didn't need a paper for stats. Like if you
No,
said
no.
Steve has got
You're
Steve
weak. If you had to go to the paper, you're weak.
255. No, they know how many strikeouts he had. They didn't need to pick up a stat paper. Oh, how so and so. They knew the stats. They're walking around with the radio attached to their hand.
Yep.
You know, but think about it, right? Like it didn't matter.
No,
They knew their stats. 13 years old, they were flipping cards. They already know every player.
and now you got grown ass people not who buy cars and put it, behind plastic somewhere. They don't flip them. They don't do nothing. You know, ridiculous. I want to talk to you about because we don't have a lot of time. But how did you get the job there, if you can remember? And talk about the efficiency, because you had come the morning time during the week, especially. I mean, you had the person behind the counter. You had then maybe two or three cooks. Who would bring the food out to the booths? Like you had a lot of stuff going on, and it was like a well-oiled machine.
No, it had to be a war. It was none of this. So where's the seat? It was in and out. You were there, and it was fast moving. And it wasn't only the sit down orders. He did just as much takeout orders.
Mm-hmm.
So you had like in the morning, it would be they would either Henry that owned it or John that managed it. They would take a week apart. Like one would come in there at 3 in the morning and leave at 3 in the afternoon. The other one come in around 6 in the morning, and he leave for a little while at 3. I'd be there by myself with Betty and someone else, and then come back at 6, and then they would close up. All the food was prepared, everything. By the time Max and Joe got in there in the morning, probably around 4:30, they had a half hour to set up. Everything was already prepared. 5 o'clock, those doors opened, and it didn't slow down until like 10 o'clock. And there was 14 stools across, and there was 8 booths, continuous people coming in. That's not including the orders. Henry would stay up front, and John would do the takeout orders and bring it up to the front. You had Eddie Cody, God rest his soul, or so many people worked. Anthony, yourself, because you were always in there helping out. They strictly dishwasher making the drinks, and then you had the other helper making the coffee. Every station had somebody. There was nobody that was doing 2 or 3 stations. The only way it worked was everybody had their own station, and don't butt into my station.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. The only one allowed to do it was Henry. Henry come in there if he wanted to cut in, but it worked that way, and you learned responsibility, and you had to pull your own weight. There was nobody to blame. If the coffee wasn't being done right or the dishes, it was my fault. Let's say whoever was at that place.
Yep.
And Betty would do the serving. They would have the waitress take it from the counter to the booths.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it worked.
And it was so, and I see it, like I said, I see a little bit of this now, a couple of places that I go to up here on Cape Cod. But for example, you never felt rush, but you didn't waste time. It was just this wonderful balance. Like,
And it was a balance. Like I'll give you, you've been in a lunch, you got the wood pallets going across.
sure.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's a secret. That's one of the secrets I was going to ask about, right? Talk about that.
Yeah, I never knew what it was. I thought it was so the dirt wouldn't get. No, it was so because you're on it, and your feet and your legs couldn't take the regular going back and forth on it. You need a little cushion, and that's what that would give you. It would give you the cushion. All these things you learned, these little tricks that they had. And Max, God rest his soul, he was so good. They came
So
to watch
quick.
this guy, like Tom Pizzola, buddy Tom. You know, he's a dentist now, and he used to go there. He said, Tom, I swear, I go there just to watch how he did. You know,
It's artistic. I love it.
it just was great, and everybody got along, and it was a good time because you cared. You earned your keep.
Mhm.
If you went behind that counter and you stayed, you earned your keep.
Oh,
Eddie Cody, how I got the job was Dad, as you know, was good friends with Henry. And one day, Henry says, I need he used to have a lift. He goes, Thomas, geez, you feel like
Thomas.
delivering for me? So I go, yeah, I'll deliver. I said, what do you pay? Like, I'm only 11 years old. Pay? You'll get the tips. I'm not paying you right
You
now.
you can't do that anymore.
I can't
You
do
can't
it.
do it anymore.
So then I
But it was
did that.
perfect. You had to
Oh,
work for your food.
great. And then it was, yeah, I earned that. But then it was a way of, okay, I didn't call in. I would always show up. And I did pretty good. I mean, 12 years old, you're making $25 in a few hours, you know?
Unbelievable.
And then he said, come on, come in and work for me. So I would, as soon as school was over, I go. But then I said we had softball like on
Mhm.
Tuesdays after like 4 o'clock game. I said, Henry, I got to play softball. You got to play softball. He goes, 1 day a week I give you. You picked that. I said Tuesday, so he did. But I tell you, I have this quick story because it was Halloween. You know, and we used to do what we always did Halloween. You have the egg fights and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And we happened that weekend, that day, we happened to do it at Henry's Luncheonette after he closed. And we had a probably against Charlie and all them from down the block. And Henry comes in the next morning, eggs all on the side of his place and covered on the windows. You know, it wasn't something I thought about because we had fun that night.
Mhm.
And he calls me and goes, Thomas, you know anything about these windows? And I said, oh, yeah, Henry, I'm sorry. You know, we were out. He goes, I knew you were out. Do I not take care of your friends? Do I not make this like your house? I said, he goes, but why'd you do this for me? I felt this big.
Mhm.
It was a lesson learned at 14 or 15 years old. I felt
Love
this
it.
big.
Yeah.
I said, Henry, you know, all I can do is say sorry. I Everybody watched that windows. I had that thing, and
Mhm.
then Henry's like, "You could do the front. You didn't get it, but you could do the front." I said, "Oh, I would do the front." But it was a
You
lesson
got-
learned. You learned. You didn't, and you told the truth. And yeah, it was just a great place.
you talked about one time we were talking about this, and that's when I had the idea to come on the podcast. Everything was structured in order, right? So like you can order what you wanted, but like the home fries were here, the eggs were here, and they were fresh eggs. None of this egg beater, none of this. It was all fresh
Ready.
eggs.
Oh yeah. He had the eggs. We go through. I'm not exaggerating. Maybe 800 eggs in a sitting within 3 4 hours. 800 eggs.
Unbelievable.
800 eggs. It'd be like,
And you did it the next day, and you did it the next
and
day.
did it the next day, the day after that, the day, and the rolls and the stuff, and it just had to work. You came in there, you worked. You didn't make no excuses. But what I did is, and you know, there was certain pride. Look, you to come in there. We all have our friends come in there. There was
Mhm.
pride going in there. You earned your way in
Oh
there.
yeah.
You know, and I always felt like when you were in there, you took care of the place. It was
Mhm.
nothing for you to get up and go, give me the broom. I got it. I'm going to sweep this up.
Oh yeah.
You know. And Betty, we learned from Betty. That was great.
Oh, Betty was like a second mother.
Second mother, she was fantastic. Just she cared about. Oh, Darren, you're crazy.
So do you? Well, I'll bring up something sad. For half a second, then I'll move on. And by the way, people, and you probably knew this, growing up in the time we did, in the neighborhoods that we lived in, we had wonderful neighbors and, as I mentioned, wonderful diversity. But running a luncheonette, running a diner is dangerous business. Working in is dangerous business. Talk a little bit about Dad's friend Mohammed, who ran a luncheonette near where he lived, who died.
It was shot. It was on Avenue K in Nostrand. He had it on Avenue K in Nostrand, Muhammad. And Dad would go in there, and he said, it's not you're here by yourself
Mm-hmm.
at night. It's nice to be able to work, and I understand you got to provide. So Dad gave him a bulletproof vest.
Yep.
Gave it to him. And he said, I appreciate it if you wear it. He took it, didn't wear it. Got
Mm-hmm.
stuck up, and they killed him. And it was like, Dad never really got over that because he felt it that it could happen. And that was terrible. The community came out and supported the family, but you don't have your husband no more. He was
Right.
such a great guy. And he loved that neighborhood so much he didn't think it would happen, but that's what happens.
Yep.
Unfortunately, as the saying goes, trust is good, not to trust is better. You have to.
Well, you taught me that. You taught me that. I remember you saying that. You taught me that in raising our kids and life, and it's something I still speak to in my heart to this day. You taught me that.
It's just you try to be. If you're going to be the best you can be out there, you got to be the best you can be all times because you can't let your guard down. You know that. Hey, look, how long did you do security and bouncing and all that?
Oh yeah.
And oh, look, you in a perfect example. You're in a homeless shelter. It's dangerous, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
you went there. You had there was a way that you handled the hundreds of people in there. You and
Mm-hmm.
Dad sometimes just by yourself.
Yeah, just
But
us
you
two.
didn't take anything for granted. You looked, you observed, you spoke, but you gave
But to your
back.
point, you treated everybody with grace.
You did. You treated everybody with grace, and it was. It was just the cops would come in there and they really looked out for us. They said we're watching. In fact, a couple of times they caught us doing stuff that
Knucklehead
was
stuff. We all
terrible, but
did.
it was like you're going home. But it says you got two chances, Tom. You can go home now and tell your dad, or you can go home and I'll tell your dad in a week.
Right. Right. So.
But it was the lies. And look at Betty, black lady, single,
Mhm.
travel two buses to go there,
I love that woman.
work to
I
work to,
love
and
that
then
woman.
the, she was our mother, like you said. That's the way we all
She was,
treated
she
her.
was, she, wa- she, in a lot of ways, no disrespect to anybody in our family, but she like raised us.
Yeah, she did. No, she was it. But think about it, 1972, 73, we embraced it that way.
Yep.
Everybody did. Like, there was, if somebody went to hurt her,
They would die.
they would die.
It's simple. They die. And
Uh,
then we go back to eating our eggs.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, absolutely. Have a little malted after
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So-
Uh,
and Tom, talk about, it's funny you mentioned about the malted and the milkshake. Um, in fact, just recently I had my second milkshake in the last 40 years. So,
wow.
but and of course, what did I think of Flat K Luncheonette? Talk about the pride. And I used to love that Henry had you guys do this. When you put that metal tin for a little overflow extra, like nobody does that anymore.
It was great. It was just the sound of that machine.
Hmm.
And like like when you're sitting on the other counter, you know how long that machine goes. Let's just say 45 seconds of it.
Right.
Okay, it's 44. I'm getting this sucker now in a
Oh
few
yeah.
minutes.
I lost
I'm
Dub.
getting it. And the same thing with the A cream. We took pride. You didn't get that A cream with
I
that
love an
noise.
cream.
You go, "Wait, what you give me? What is this?" And like you said, the chirping, you had no problem. If you got a crap malted, you handed that sucker back.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you got an ice cream soda, that thing better be floating on the top. You
And
better
good
have
ice cream too, not fake ice cream. Good ice cream.
you can. And it was like, that was it. And it was I remember when you got married, one of the things I said was what I missed most was us living in a house and going down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. We would jump. Like I
Right.
always
Yeah.
remember and the luncheonette, it's the sounds of the luncheonette. The ice
Mhm.
coming out, like you just said, the malted, the people that would just, oh, here it comes, it's coming. and the coffee being poured, the cop going on. These are all just sounds that I can close my eyes and I can hear them today. What I miss most, though, are the people. We really had some great people.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And by the way, great nicknames too. Merv, Maluch.
Oh, Maluch.
Do we ever know what happened to Maluch?
No, I'm sorry he did. He was a very smart guy.
Oh, dude, he
The
was.
guy
And
was brilliant.
you talk about a guy. I've never seen a guy weigh about 101 pounds soaking wet,
Yeah.
intimidate so many people.
Oh,
I
and he
told you
could drive
we
the
went.
boat truck. I remember how
Yeah.
fast he drove that truck like it was nothing.
So
Yeah.
I'll share this story. So we go to a Yankee game, just him and me, right? And I don't know how old could I have been, right? 13, 14, right? And he's just great. And this was the 76 Yankees. No, so I was like 11, you know? So because the new Yankee Stadium opened up, and I remember some vagrant, not just a homeless gentleman, but like a vagrant putting just garbage water. Remember in the South Bronx, they used to try to, wash your
Yeah, it was.
windows for
Yeah.
tips, and if you didn't, they just just spray your car with all sorts of nonsense. Well, we're in the middle of this stuff. Now again, Maluch weighs about 101 pounds. He gets out of the he gets out of the truck. I'm like, where you go? And he intimidated the hell out of the guy.
Uh-huh.
It's just, the nicknames, they're all gone now. No nicknames.
And you can't, and you got the nickname. They said it whatever it was. Peg leg, whatever
Oh,
it
yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yep. Build a guard.
Cheapo, cheap. And they tell you right away. Oh, here he comes. And it was just great. And then you learned, like you knew right away if somebody came in there you didn't mess with. Go, okay, this guy's getting a little extra fries with his with his meal.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
Um, so before I go, I want to ask you, in today's world, what makes for a good diner? Because the newspapers and all that, they're gone, right? Everybody's in their own phones now, looking at the phones. Is there any place that you've found comfort? I know you got the one person at the liquor store that kind of gives you that kind of good feel, but what makes for a good place? And have you found?
honestly, I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you because you got to look for cleanliness.
I
Now,
like that.
understand this. This is the way it is, and people don't realize. Look up in the vents. Look at your air vent, pumping the air conditioner out of there. Look in the corners of underneath the tables. Take a look. If that diner that you're eating in is not clean, and I'm not talking about like a dirty table. I'm talking dirty windows. I'm talking the utensils you get. If you look in the wall, it looks like that wall hasn't been cleaned. uh, the vents are a big thing. Then you don't go there because believe me, they're doing a lot more than that. They're not caring about your food. It's like going. It's like you're not going to go out with dirty fingernails. You're just not. You're not going to go out without brushing your teeth. But you
Right.
leave in a diner that looks like piss. I don't. You, the cleanliness is the key. I would
Well,
go anywhere, and then when you got that cleanliness, you'll realize what'll happen is you'll also have great people
right,
for the
because they
most
care.
part, because they care. They're taking pride in themselves this way.
So I'm gonna answer my own question, but use it as a prompt for you. So like, I sold advertising for to small and medium-sized businesses for over 30 for about 30 years. And the hubris of some people today think just because we're a neighborhood place and you have a couple of flowers, in the place that you can charge an arm and a leg to your local person. Or you could wax poetic and whine about the prices of X, Y, and Z. And what you don't give them is what we got, and that is a place where they can feel at home, a place that they can feel safe to be themselves. Understand the difference. Not that they feel safe to be themselves. And they don't just feel like a number. And by the way, is your credit card on file? Oh, yeah, I can give you a glass of water for 15 cents. I
Yeah.
could charge you 14.95 for a Reuben sandwich.
Huh.
I mean, those places I would say avoid. I found a few here that are really good. They have that right mix, but it's not easy.
You reviews matter. I like reviews
Me
because
too.
I'll read the reviews. I don't care if they got 5 stars like that. I want to see what they say. When you have a team there and they go, "Oh, the staff treats you with respect." If the food is very good, the staff it's good. That you keep your staff. See, why would I want to go to a diner that says, "Oh, I'm local," in the meantime doesn't keep anybody? The people
Hmm.
come in and out. You want a little sense of pride. I like to go walk in and go, "Hey, by the way, I heard you had your grandson was born in September. Congratulations." You tell them,
Exactly.
"Oh, look, I heard the other day that your daughter graduated." But as far as walking in for the first time, I'm going to look at cleanliness. After that, I'm looking at service. I look at service before I eat, before the food, because I want to know the people care. They joke around. They got a little attitude with them. And like you call it, chirping.
Hmm.
But that's the key for me.
No.
Because look, picture going in there with your kid, and I use this a lot. You have your 10-year-old son, daughter, or in my case, my granddaughter or my grandson, and you go in a place and the person's not treating you right, just being being a little cold. Why would I want to take my kid to see that? That's acceptable because it's
Oh,
not.
absolutely.
It's not. This is a service-oriented place. I'm not. I want you to show a little bit. I'm here. I'm going to give you respect. I like to have a little bit myself.
So you just triggered me if I use that term about something. So for example, a higher end restaurant, a dinner place, I get it, but I see some of these places, and whether and I've lived kind of on both sides of the country, California 16 years, New York now I'm up here in Cape Cod. If I see a place that says no strollers or no kids or keep your kid, you know what, I ain't going there.
Yeah.
You're not family friendly. F you. You are not family friendly. Don't pretend that you are. You're not. And
No.
and understand, parents, keep your kids under control. I get that.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but like I found two places, place in Mashpee called the Picnic Box, a place in
Yeah,
Yarmouth.
you said you talked about that
Oh, I
place. Yeah.
love that place. Get the Jag, it's amazing. Uh, a place in South Yarmouth that Dad would love called the Celtic Kitchen. I highly recommend those two places. Why? Not only is the food reasonably priced, and the food is good, very good, in fact, the people, the service. They don't kiss your butt. They don't unkiss your butt. They just do it right. They can read the person coming in and react accordingly.
And no, and that's. No, I probably shared with you the time when I came in from Florida, and Dad and Artie were in a diner on Luncheonette. Dad lived in diners.
Yeah, I love it. That's where we got it from.
Yeah, and get there, get up to go after that for a while. I get up with Frankie. We got to leave, and I said, "Oh, let me get the check." So the woman goes, "Are you related? Are you his son?" I go, "Yeah." "Oh, I'm so happy he has family. Like, I mean, you can't how much this guy got a lot of family, but it's nice to know that she cared like that
Oh
about
yeah,
her father, and that was special. And
yeah.
I told her that. I said, Dad, my father
That's a diner.
thinks that's the diner. That's
So I want to, before I let you go, I have one last story that I'd love for you to share because I think that this talks about how it's not long gone and dead. It's alive and well. It's you just can't find it very much. About doing the right thing if you own a luncheonette or a diner or you work there. Talk about up in Saugerties, Cairo. I forget where it is exactly in Greene County. I love this story of the place you went to regarding the hash, and they remember a year later. I mean, how wonderful is that? That is a great story. That is a place that you go to just because of the people.
yeah. It's O'Neill's. It's in the town of Cairo, upstate New York, and we would we went there and we really liked the food and the home, the feel in the place. It's family, and it's just the one guy in the
Mhm.
back cooking, and he has two helpers that take your order and take it to the table. dad used to go in there. He loved it. So I felt like I got to go in there. And he said, "Oh, I know your dad used to come sit in that chair over there." Well, we would go there, and once a year during July, when we went upstate, and then we started making one trip a year additional where we would go there. One of those times we get it, and he didn't have enough hash. Yeah, and he goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't have enough for everybody, for you guys. Next time, call me." So I said, "Yeah, okay, we will." Well, I called him. I
Good
called
for you.
the,
Good for you.
the next year when we were going back up. I said, just you guys open tomorrow? I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, we're coming up, and we'll be there. Just want to tell him about the hash." "Oh yeah, he knows you. You and your sons come up, right?" I go,
Unbelievable.
"Did it this year. Just did it. We went up October like 18th, around there."
Mhm.
I called up. I said, "We're just coming up. Want to make sure you open tomorrow." And the girl says, "Oh, you're the Hash family, man. Come on, you
Gotta love
gotta."
that.
And this isn't like one customer.
Right.
They play. You gotta wait to get in there. This is how. This is service. This is
Mhm.
family. You feel good. He got a Christmas card.
Of
And
course.
and I sent him the Christmas card last year, and he came out when we seen him in July. He goes, "I just want to thank you for the Christmas." Man,
So
I wish there was more of that.
I'm running late, but I got to ask this question because
So,
I love food.
uh,
We love talking about food. And what makes for a good hash?
uh, the corned beef, bro. Corned beef. I got a
It's a
crock
great
pot.
answer.
It's the corned beef. Let it slow cook, man. Just really. For me, that's what it is. It's the corned beef. You're gonna look at if you're getting corned beef and hash like we like, and you got more potatoes than you got corned beef. You're like, you're cheating me here. But
No
it's a
good.
nice little mixture.
Oh, and I got an additional question that I forgot to ask before. Flat K luncheonette. One of the other things I remember about it, real quick, talk about the incredible ice you had there. You had the best ice.
Yeah, that's
Whenever I
what.
see that ice, I almost want to cry these days
Yeah,
because it makes me think of the Flat K.
he had the best machine. It cracked it. He bought it into little pieces like diamonds,
Yep.
and he prided himself on that. He used to
Hmm.
say all the time, like he didn't care what. Sometimes it got to be expensive to fix it, but he
Right.
said they come to get my ice.
Yes.
you know. But think about it. I always say all the time, I love the pictures of you in there, the bomber jacket.
Hmm.
You can go in there one day with a bomber jacket. Next thing you're there with your baseball cap and your jacket on. Next thing you're pulling up there with the snow shovel. It was
That's right.
just
That's right. Tom, thank you so much. This was great.
all the best. Thanks for all you do, man. I know that
Oh,
your listeners know it, but
appreciate it.
you're always giving for everybody. God bless, brother.
So are you. Love you. Happy New Year.